A US airstrike hit this bridge in Iran that is currently under construction and split the structure in half. It is believed to be the tallest bridge in the country and a major infrastructure project. According to Iranian state media, at least 8 people were killed and 95 wounded in the strike. The attack comes a day after US President Trump said this.
Going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
I'm Bina Shawed. In this video, we'll speak with an expert to discuss the impact US and Israeli attacks are having on people in Iran and to discuss if some of the strikes have hit non-military infrastructure. US President Donald Trump has shared footage showing smoke rising from what is called the B-1 bridge, which is around 20 miles southwest of Tehran. He says much more to follow. It's time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late. Let's bring in Sara Karmanian. She is an international relations researcher from University of Sussex in Brighton, UK, and is from Iran. Sara, so what do you make of the US attacking this bridge? The Iranian officials have called it an attack on civilian infrastructure.
Thank you for having me. I believe the symbolic message of this attack is the most important, as it tries to show that Trump is not bluffing when he says he will return Iran to the Stone Ages, quote unquote, and destroy all manifestations of development. The bridge, it was not still open to the public. It was reported to be under construction or near completion. Means that destroying it was not directly an attack on public transport at this moment. The U.S. has claimed that the bridge was used for transporting missiles and drones parts from Tehran to Western launch sites. So this is basically this kind of justifications they often use when they are attacking infrastructures. However, given the timing of the attack, which followed Trump's threat to target infrastructures, and the fact that Iranian security infrastructures may overlap with infrastructures affecting civilian life, not just in this case, but in many cases, the two networks are very deeply intertwined. So this appears to be a step towards demonstrating that the U.S. threat was not empty, that they are actually going to attack infrastructures, even when attacking military kind of infrastructures are quite intertwined with civilian infrastructures affecting civilian lives.
Sara, earlier in the video, we heard Donald Trump saying the U.S. will bring the Iranians back to the Stone Ages where they belong. How are Iranians reacting to these kind of statements?
Actually, reactions vary. So some contrast is a statement with earlier claims to make Iran great again, to express disappointment. But there are others who also do make the contrast, but also only sarcastically to show how basically the two were two sides of the same coin. We should remember that not everyone inside Iran has easy access to internet, so many visible reactions come from the diaspora, but it's still the fear of attacks spreading across infrastructures is quite widespread. I see this new statement quite in line, actually, in a way, not having major contrast with what Trump had said before, because I think we need to distinguish between the discourse politicians use to justify war and the reality of how wars unfold. Trump has initiated a war that many IR and security experts had warned from the beginning could create a security trap, right? So one that cannot be resolved as quickly as he had hoped. To achieve this goal, he's unlikely to avoid violent measures, including pushing Iran towards the point of attacking its infrastructures, as he is framing it now, because he likes playing with this sort of vocabulary, returning Iran to the dark ages. And if we look at it, attacks on infrastructures resonate with Israel's intention of creating a failed state in Iran, both directly through destruction and indirectly by provoking Iran to target neighboring states and making negotiations impossible. So again, I wouldn't say I see a huge contrast, but I would say that the war has kind of gradually come to the no-return point of making attack over infrastructures inevitable.
And talking about attacks on infrastructure, in one of his latest posts, Trump says his military has not even started destroying what's left in Iran. He says bridges next, then electric power plants will be attacked. Sarah, what consequences are we talking about if US attacks infrastructure such as electric power plants?
Well, some experts and electrical engineers, they suggested Iran's power grid has some resilience and can compensate for lost capacity to an extent. I'm not an expert on this, I'm just reiterating what I've read, but it would likely only be a matter of time before sustained attacks cause irreversible damage. Because we all know a shutdown of electricity would have devastating consequences. It could paralyze society, damage already fragile business and industries. Many of them are already shut down, and disrupt hospitals, public transport. It would also make it harder for people under internet blackout to maintain the very limited communication they already have with the outside world. So potentially it can lead to severe humanitarian crisis. I think this is something no one can underestimate its importance.
So huge consequences. Sarah, stay with us because I want to show what the head of the World Health Organization published tonight. In a post, he said multiple attacks on healthcare facilities have been reported in the Iranian capital in Tehran in recent days. The WHO head said that since March 1st, the World Health Organization has verified over 20 attacks on healthcare facilities in Iran. And Sarah, he also shared these pictures and mentioned Iran's Pasteur Institute, saying it is unable to continue delivering health services due to damage. He says the institute has been operating for over a century and plays an important role in the health sector, including emergencies. Sarah, so how alarming are these attacks on health centers for the Iranian people?
Indeed, they're very alarming. These attacks, including the one that you showed, and including those on pharmaceutical sites, factories, labs, etc., they're extremely alarming, not only for their humanitarian impact at the moment, which are quite severe, but also because they suggest the war has entered a total phase of targeting civilians and infrastructures again. The Pasteur Institute of Iran that you just talked about, it was founded in 1920 as part of the Global Pasteur Network, is Tehran's oldest biomedical research hub and has played a key role in vaccine production, epidemic control. Reports suggest that among things that were destroyed, Iran's zone plan, microbial bank has been destroyed. So it means that decades of research has been lost. And this goes beyond just immediate service disruption. It goes beyond the lab not being able, the Pasteur Institute not being able to give support to civilians. It damages long-term scientific capacity of the country. Moreover, there are also attacks on pharmaceutical factories and labs that mean people may soon lose access to essential medicines. We know that because of the sanctions, Iran has not been able to import some critical medications for a very long time. Many of these medicines were produced locally, were produced at home. And now with these sites being attacked, people will not have access to their essential medications anymore. So this is deeply alarming. It can lead to significant civilian toll beyond the direct casualty of the attacks, but also people who are going to lose their lives because of not having access to medical care.
Let's also see what the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said, and I'm reading his post on X. He said, what message does attacking hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and the Pasteur Institute as a medical research center in Iran convey? And then he continues to say, as a specialist physician, I urge WHO, the Red Cross, Doctors Without Borders, and physicians worldwide to respond to this crime against humanity. Sarah, my question to you is, can Iran make a case against the US and Israel for war crimes?
One would argue that recent attacks may amount to crimes against humanity. I mean, they are instances of war crime against humanity. If it can be shown that they are part of a widespread or systemic attack on civilians rather than isolated military attacks, which I think is not very difficult to show, since Israel's attack on oil refineries in Tehran, the war has entered this stage of basically attacking infrastructure. So this is a systemic thing that is going on. There are not just individual attacks on infrastructures. And such a case could reference civilian told that we know that now there are just as almost, according to the most recent statistics, the number of civilians who have been killed in this war have almost reached to that. I think they're quite equal at the moment, the number of civilian and non-civilian tolls. So attacks on protected sites such as medical and research institutions and evidence of deliberate or reckless targeting. There are many, many examples that show that there is a systemic attack on infrastructures and with humanitarian consequences that has been happening in this war. And while many attacks have targeted military and state-linked sites, others have not. As I said, since the targeting of oil refineries, we have been seeing this. And moreover, due to both these attacks and the embedding of security infrastructures within urban areas that I mentioned earlier, the civilian casualties are increasing. Workers at these sites are not military personnel, and reckless attacks on infrastructures can kill civilians. The destruction of medical and energy systems can also lead to deaths through lack of care. As I said, there are indirect numbers of people who are just dying in the war as a result of these attacks on infrastructure. So I think Iran can actually make a case that these are all crimes against humanity and there are war crimes happening in this war. Whether or not international bodies are actually attentive to this or are going to take it seriously is another question.
And do you think international bodies are taking seriously what's happening in Iran?
I think at the moment there is some level of delay in kind of responding to both parties. I mean, a few weeks ago, last week I think it was, that some Arab states accused Iran of war crimes, which also was the case. Iran has also committed war crime by attacking civilian sites, infrastructures of those states, sites that were not just limited to U.S. military bases. But the thing is that because of the high security kind of consequences of any decision made in this regard, and also we can see clearly that we are kind of entered into this stage of what's many refer to as post-rule-based international. So international law doesn't really seem to be playing a huge role, or people are not really accountable towards it. So unfortunately, even if these war crimes, both those conducted and done by Iran and Israel and the US, are recognized, there is little hope that they're going to have any meaningful impact on the course of the war. But I think there is a clear case that the US and Israel are committing humanitarian crimes in this war.
Yeah, and Sarah, as you mentioned, Iran is also accused of attacking civilian infrastructure in the Gulf nations. Sarah, I want to quote here Armed Conflict Location and Event Data. That's an organization that collects and analyzes data on conflict. And it says, so far, due to the US and Israeli attacks, most harm has occurred during attacks on military, security, and state-linked sites. But if the US attacks critical infrastructure, that could change. So, Sarah, does this mean civilian toll could increase if the war persists?
Definitely it can. As I said, if you look at how the number, how the statistics since the beginning of the war, I mean, at the beginning, the civilian toll was significantly lower than military tolls. But as the war has continued, as I said, because of many reasons, one of them being attacking of infrastructures where workers work, where civilians are just basically doing their everyday activities, but also since they started attacking security network in urban areas, and since they're located in neighborhoods, they're also attacking, they also cause the increasing of civilian toll because of these attacks on neighborhoods. So we have come to from the point of civilian toll being only like a small percentage of the total toll to the point of the two being almost the same. And I believe that, yes, if they continue attacking infrastructures, of course, I mean, when you think about it, there are more civilians living in Iran than military personnel, right? So if they start attacking infrastructures, if they continue attacking urban sites, then of course, more people are going to get killed. Civilians are going to be the main and the largest, basically, percent. They are going to shape the largest percentage of death toll in this war. And I think many people are at the moment are pretty much concerned about it. And this is at the top of the priority of people these days.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for your comprehensive analysis and for your time.
Thank you.
And what do you think? Could more attacks force Iran into making a deal with the US or rather just cause further escalation? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.